Frank, we're back for number 24 on your list, and it's one of the funniest films on the list. It's Peter Bogdanovich's What's Up, Doc? What's Up, Doc is a 1972 film directed by Peter Bogdanovich.
I'm Peter Bogdanovich.
Starring Ryan O'Neal.
And this is Ryan O'Neal. You remember him from Love Story?
Barbra Streisand, Madeline Kahn, Austin Pendleton, Kenneth Mars, Michael Murphy, Philip Roth, Sorrell Booke, Stefan Gierasch, Mabel Albertson, Liam Dunn, John Hillerman. There was a lot of people in this movie. I mean, a lot of like small parts, but What's Up, Doc is, wow, what is What's Up, Doc about?
This is San Francisco, the city chosen by one of the most brilliant and sensitive new generation of filmmakers, Peter Bogdanovich, for his maiden comedy effort, What's Up, Doc?
It's about confusion.
Wally, I can't see!
Well, there's not much to see, actually. We're inside a Chinese dragon.
Gosh, you stinker.
There is a carry-on luggage case that several different people are looking for. They're all looking for this one case, but there's like 4 of the same cases all kind of like in this one area all at the same time. And What's Up, Doc is basically like this crazy screwball comedy that's centered around these cases giving everybody the runaround, essentially. Like, people are constantly like getting a case, losing a case, switching a case. It's just this constant like comedy of errors, and it is very funny. It's very funny. It's got a Buck Henry script. He wrote it along with David Newman and Robert Benton, with a story by Peter Bogdanovich. It is hands down one of the funniest films definitely that I've seen by Bogdanovich. Probably one of the funniest films that I've seen from that 70s era. I just was laughing like the whole time. So before I move too far into that, let's see what your thoughts are. Your thoughts were my favorite comedy ever. Simple and to the point, and I totally understand why you would say that. It is hilarious. Bogdanovich has always had a love of older films. The films of the 30s and 40s and into the 50s are his primary influence, and you see that in all of his early films. Last Picture Show, What's Up, Doc, which is this one, Paper Moon, Daisy Miller, At Long Last Love, and Nickelodeon, and even the documentaries that he did on directors like Howard Hawks and John Ford. Now, I'm going to say that I am not a huge fan of Barbra Streisand as an actress. I'm sure that she's a great singer. She seems to have a marvelous singing voice and has a lot of fans, but I've never been that big of a fan of her from an acting standpoint, but she is perfectly cast in this movie. I could not imagine... I don't know if there's anyone else who could have played this part as good as she played it. Now, 20 years previous, you could have had Audrey Hepburn play it, and she would have been perfect for that role. But in 1970-71, when this movie was being shot, I can't think of another actress who would fill in that role as well as Barbra Streisand did. And she just was absolutely amazing in it. Ryan O'Neal was hilarious as like this sort of like, uptight, stick up his butt scientist, basically. That's the best way that I can think to describe it. Madeline Kahn is so funny in this movie. She's Ryan O'Neal's fiance, and she's just like kind of insane. She's just insane. That's the best way that I would describe her. But everybody's fantastic, and one person that I was surprised to see in this actually was Austin Pendleton, who plays the guy that Ryan O'Neal is trying to get a grant from for his scientific research. So him and his fiance are in San Francisco to attend a presentation, I guess, of projects. And then Austin Pendleton's character, Larrabee, runs a foundation that's going to hand out a grant for one of these projects. And Austin Pendleton was actually in Catch-22, which is freaking fantastic film. Mike Nichols. He has a very small role in it, but he's very funny. He's plays Orson Welles. He plays the son of Orson Welles' character in that film.
I want to get this clear. As I understand it, we're presenting these men with medals for doing a lousy job. Is that right?
I don't think that's quite the situation.
When I want an answer from you, I'll look at you, which will be as seldom as possible.
General, I think I can explain it.
And he's very funny in Catch-22. He's very funny in this. I also loved seeing Michael Murphy, who's an Altman regular. He was great in this. And it's kind of funny, I didn't realize that Sorrell Booke is in here. Now that I see him, I'm making the connection, because Sorrell Booke played Boss Hogg in The Dukes of Hazzard, and now I'm making the connection that he was the hotel, like, house detective character, and that's that's pretty funny. That's great. And also John Hillerman, who was on Magnum P.I., is in this, so that's really funny. And Emmett Walsh, great character actor, who was in Clean and Sober, which is number 3 on your list. He was played a police officer in this. A lot of people in this one, you know, some playing small roles, you know, or smaller roles than they would eventually play. Yeah, What's Up Doc is just a perfectly executed screwball comedy. You know, there's so many people who try to ape off of that form in like modern times, like over the past like 10, 20 years or whatever. They've tried to like bring back that type of film, and it rarely ever works. The closest that I can think about it is like maybe you might be able to like just barely slide in like The Artist under that category. I mean, The Artist is really paying more homage to like silent films, but it's maybe a little bit of a screwball comedy, maybe not. It's been a long time since I've seen that one, but I was trying to think of other ones that have come out lately, but it's just like none of that stuff ever works. You know, it comes off as too much of an homage, and it just fails. It ends up failing because it's just like, oh, they're just trying to make a movie like the 1940s. But What's Up Dog never feels like that. It feels like a film that is perfectly of its time, but that borrows this genre, you know, from the 30s and 40s and makes it its own. And, you know, that's kind of the genius of Bogdanovich, I guess. I mean, especially in those early days, he was just able to take the things that influenced him and create his own work from it. And in a way, like, and I don't want this to be taken out of proportion here, but in a way, like, he kind of was the original Tarantino, where it's like he was taking all of the movies that he had seen as a kid and as a young man, and those were going through his mind when he was creating, you know, his films. And those influences can be seen everywhere. Tarantino, obviously, he wears his influences on his sleeve. Bogdanovich, too. You know, you can see it in all of his films. At least a lot of his early films, definitely. Later films, I don't know as much. I think he kind of got away from some of that. But yeah, it's What's Up Doc is awesome. I would highly recommend it to anybody who's either looking forward to getting into watching more Bogdanovich films or just wants a hilarious comedy to enjoy. It's just so funny and so fun. I really did enjoy it. I'm really glad that you put it on the list. It's definitely one of the best that's been on the list so far. So up next is number 25. It's one of my personal favorite films of all time. One of the only films on this list that I have actually seen before, but this list gives me an opportunity to watch it again. It's the 80s classic Goonies ripoff, Monster Squad. So a little background on this. When I was a kid, there was a movie rental store in the grocery store. So when you walked into the grocery store, literally on the left-hand side, you would immediately see the little video rental store that they had. And maybe like once or twice a month, you know, when my mom would take me to go get groceries or whatever, she would let me go into the video rental store and pick something out. And Monster Squad was always my number one pick. It was either Monster Squad or like there was a Ghostbusters cartoon VHS, not the movie, but the Ghostbusters cartoon, and it had like a couple of episodes on it. And I would get one or the other of those, but usually it was Monster Squad. So I would get that on VHS, and I think I wore their tape out. I watched it so much, but I actually have the Blu-ray. I actually have the Blu-ray right here, and I am looking forward to watching it again. Any opportunity that I have to watch this movie is very welcome. So thank you, sir, for giving me that chance. So until next time, I will see you next week, Frank, and anybody else who decides to come on by. Like, comment, subscribe. I love to hear from you, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.